Now let's talk this Steelers-Chargers game. Let's preview this. This is going to be an AFC North matchup, even though technically it's not. It's an AFC North team versus an AFC West. We are such similar teams, though. Very, very similar teams. A couple of nuances, a couple of little differences here and there, but as of right now, Steelers and Chargers are playing pretty much the same brand of football. And it's Tomlin coaching the Steelers, and it's a Harbaugh coaching the Chargers. Should it be a coincidence, right? Let me break this down for you. Both teams got talented quarterbacks. Both teams want to run the ball, want that to be their identity on offense, impose their will. Both teams have rebuilt offensive lines, have devoted a lot of investment and resources into building the trenches recently. Both teams have a tall, rangy receiver on the outside, Chargers with Quentin Johnson, Steelers with George Pickens. They also have a young slot guy that they just drafted, Chargers, Ladd McConkey. Steelers, Roman Wilson. We don't know if we're going to see Roman Wilson in this game. Hopefully we do. Edge rushers on defense, elite. Safety playmakers on both teams, Derwin James, Micah Fitzpatrick. And as a whole, both teams just flat out right play good defense and try to turn the ball over from the other team. Steelers have 5 turnovers this year. The Chargers have 4. We're playing the same brand of football right now. We're both well-coached teams. We're both teams with a lot of talent. Now, who's got the better talent in certain areas? Yes, we could talk about that, right? There's some places where Steelers have the advantage, a couple places where the Chargers. This is just going to be a flat outright good game. This is good on good. This is a good test for both teams. Harbaugh has said it in his interviews and press conferences that he's excited to bring the Chargers over to Pittsburgh. It's going to be a great test for him. He really appreciates how Pittsburgh plays football, appreciates the fans, the culture, everything that we got going here. Tomlin also spoke highly of Jim Harbaugh in his press conference. But how about this? Well, let's even take it a step further in terms of the season scripts and how similar our teams are right now. Both teams won a quality game in week 1 that at the time, a lot of people didn't think it was as quality as we think it is right now. Steelers beating the Falcons and the Chargers beating the Raiders. After week 1, you're just thinking, okay, Steelers are, it's Tomlin. It's a good run organization. Falcons, I don't think they're going to be as good. Kirk might be washed and everything. He might not be right from the injury. Falcons I'm worried about them. Same thing with the Raiders. It's like, the Chargers, they beat the Raiders. The Raiders are the Raiders. They're always a disappointment, right? But after seeing how the Falcons played in week 2 and how the Raiders played in week 2, now we're looking back on those wins and like, oh, wow, Steelers actually, they might have beat a good team. Oh, wow, Chargers, they might actually beat a frisky Raiders team. And then in week 2, both the Steelers and Chargers beat up on not so good teams. Steelers with the Broncos and the Chargers with the Panthers. So we're at very similar spots right now. Very, very similar spots. I think the Chargers have the leg up on the offensive side in terms of just overall production from this season and the running game, but also having a more proven quarterback. But I think we have the more talented and better defense. So I think Fields is going to have to step up and match some of Herbert's big plays because Herbert in this Chargers offense, in this Jim Harbaugh offense, ain't the Herbert that we know. Ain't like the gunslinger Herbert that we've known over the first however many seasons of his career, which is probably a good thing for him because he doesn't have to be a superhero back there or anything. Now he can manage the game and let the game come to him, and he's got better surroundings, whereas he was doing all that he could to just keep the Chargers afloat, throwing for 5,000 yards a year, 30 touchdowns, and they still weren't winning games to the capacity that you would think they'd be able to, having a guy like Herbert at the quarterback position. But he's still really good, man. He's still really good. But you look at the stats, he actually doesn't have as many passing yards as Justin Fields. It's by a very small number. I think it's only by like a passing yard or two. But he ain't the Justin Herbert that we're used to, at least up to this point. And what the Chargers are asking him to do. He's still Justin Herbert, but he's not going out there throwing for 300 yards, 2-3 touchdowns. But we know he's still going to make his plays, right? He's still going to make his big plays. So we need Fields to match that. Like the Steelers' first approach, I think their first priority on defense and stopping the Chargers' offense is to stop the run, because J.K. Dobbins has gone off these first 2 weeks. And that's the number one thing that the Chargers are going to want to do. Even though they have a Justin Herbert, they want to help him out by running the ball and imposing their will on the opposing defense and on the opposing team. So we got to stop the run first. But that leaves us with dealing with Justin Herbert. And I think we're going to get our wins against Herbert at times. I think our defense is that good. And I don't think Herbert has as much talent, particularly at the receiver position, compared to what he was dealing with when he had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams there his first few years. So, like, I think we're going to get some wins against him, but I think Justin Herbert is also going to make some plays and keep the Chargers offense moving a little bit. So, in my opinion, Fields has got to step up a little bit. There's gonna be some plays where Fields, maybe it's a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. We got to convert. We got to keep the chains moving on our side. So that's one of the things I'm going to be looking for in this one. Like, we all know Herbert, top 10 quarterback, probably top 6, 7 quarterback in this league. Can Fields match him when we need him to? Because I think we're going to need him to. I definitely do. Some matchups I feel like are in our favor. And this is why I think Fields is going to get those opportunities, because the Chargers secondary is kind of weak. So who's Pickens going to be going up against? Gardner Minshew in that Raiders offense. They threw for 257 yards against him in week 1. They got Christian Fulton, Asante Samuel. He's more of a slot corner. I think at times they might have him playing on the outside, but that's nothing I'm worried about. Cam Hart, they just drafted out of Notre Dame. Jasir Taylor. Who's matching up against George Pickens of those names that I just mentioned? Who's matching up and stopping Pickens? We just saw Pickens go off against Patrick Surtain, arguably a top 3 corner in this league. So Fields needs a guy to pass to, needs a safety valve when the offense could be getting in a pinch. Go to George Pickens. Now, again, I'm going to have the same question this week. Are any of the other guys going to step up? Van Jefferson helped us more than I think that was being led on last week, because he did get the DPI down the field with that one-handed catch attempt. So that was, I don't know, like a 30-yard pass catch right there that wasn't put on the box score, wasn't put on the stat sheet. But outside of that, Muth got his little 30 yards. We're going to need someone else to step up. I'm looking for Jaylen Warren to be the guy, honestly. Not only in the run game, but in the pass game, because I think he matches up well against these San Diego linebackers. Another matchup I think is in our favor is Muth versus their linebackers too. I mentioned Jaylen Warren, but I think Muth can get some separation against these dudes. Denzel Perry and Dayan Henley. Dayan Henley, athletic dude, but there's no reason Muth can't get his against those guys. TJ Watt versus Joe Alt. Let's flip it to the defensive side here for a second. TJ Watt in his prime. TJ Watt, the best defensive player in the league right now, goes up against a really good rookie. Like, we got to give Alt his respects, but this is TJ Watt we're talking about. Alt had a pretty decent game against Max Crosby in week 1, but Max Crosby isn't TJ Watt. I expect TJ Watt to have a TJ Watt type of game, even though it is Joe Alt. I like our linebackers against the Chargers tight ends, because the Chargers tight ends aren't really that prolific. It's Will Disley and Hayden Hurst, at least in the passing game. In the passing game, Patrick Queen or Peyton Wilson against either of those two dudes, I'm not worried about at all. But we know the Chargers have those guys for blocking as well. But that's why we have Landon Robertson. That's why I think we're going to be doing some different formations, doing some different personnel on defense at certain times. I think this could be a big Landon Roberts game. We're going to have him out there early and often and see how the Chargers handle our run defense. And if they're not able to get anything going and they got to start passing it, that's when we get Peyton Wilson out there. And I really like that matchup against Disley and Hayden Hurst. And then last matchup I think we got in our favor is JPJ against Quentin Johnson. JPJ won against Drake London week 1. Tall, rangy receiver. Good. Checked it off. Drake London did nothing. JPJ won against Cortland Sutton last week. Tall receiver, shifty receiver. JPJ. Check. Not a problem. Held Cortland Sutton in check. Although, we had some of those holding penalties and everything, but that's some of the stuff you get with JPJ. We've talked about that how many times. Quentin Johnson, I don't think at this point is as good of a receiver as Drake London or even a Cortland Sutton. He was the Chargers' first-round pick a couple years ago. I don't see an issue for JPJ here at all. Because I doubt we put Porter on Ladd McConkey. I don't know why we would put him on their third receiver. I think it's Joshua Palmer. Yeah, that's the matchup. That's the matchup. JPJ and Quentin Johnson. Ladd McConkey, that'll probably be Dante Jackson. Dante Jackson either on Josh Palmer or Ladd McConkey, and then we're going to have to – Ladd McConkey, depending on how they have McConkey lined up and everything, that could spell a little bit of an issue for us. It could. That's something we're going to have to look out for because if he's exclusively in the slot, are we going to bump Dante Jackson in the slot and sacrifice some run defense there? Or are we going to have a safety on McConkey, but that might hurt us in the passing game because McConkey can run routes? We'll see. But I think McConkey is a little bit of an X factor on offense for the Chargers. But I like the JPJ Quentin Johnson matchup in particular. Matchups I think that are just good on good. Justin Herbert versus Minkah Fitzpatrick. And then our linebackers versus the Chargers running backs. I was talking about our linebackers versus the Chargers tight ends, particularly in the passing game. But our linebackers versus J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards in the run game. That's going to be an interesting one. That's going to be a very interesting one because J.K. Dobbins is healthy and he's playing really good. He's running efficiently behind that Chargers offensive line. And we got good guys here to stop him. Like that's why we're paying Patrick Queen the big bucks. That's why we have Landon Roberts here. That's why we drafted Peyton Wilson in the 3rd round. Good on good matchup. The one that I think is in the Chargers' favor would be Khalil Mack and Nick Bosa versus Dan Moore and Troy Fautanu. It's almost like TJ Watt versus Joe Walt. Joe Walt's talented, but TJ Watt's the best defensive player in the league. We like Troy Fautanu. I like Dan Moore. But we're talking about Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. A healthy Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa, when he's hurt, yeah, non-factor because he's not out there on the field and he's hurt a ton. But week 3 of this season, he's healthy. That's a matchup we're going to have to watch for. I think that's something we're going to have to help out with. We're going to have to throw Darnell Washington in there to chip. Freiermuth's going to have to chip even when he's going out on routes. And Darnell Washington might just have to even chill and be there as a 6th offensive lineman. Hell, maybe Broderick Jones could be a 6th offensive lineman for us this game. We did it with Zach Banner back in the day. Why not Broderick Jones? Could be very useful for this one. Steelers are favored. -1.5. So I like that. I mean, they're giving us some respect here. And I think they're also indicating that this is going to be a close game. This is going to be a really close game. Like, I think they do +3 points for the home team typically. I don't know if they've bumped it down because I think home field advantage in the NFL hasn't been as prevalent recently. So maybe is it 2 points or 2.5? But essentially they're saying this is going to be a close one. And I agree. But how about this graphic that I saw on the NFL YouTube channel preview? Not one of these analysts have the game or have either team going over 20 points. Low scoring affair. Bucky Brooks has the highest scoring one in 2014. I kind of like that one. I might steal his take. I think Fields is going to play good. I think our offense is going to play better. Hopefully, we don't have as many penalties with Tomlin bringing in the officials on today. I guess, yeah, it's going to be today, Thursday, and Friday. He's bringing in officials to keep us in check and help us with the rules during practice. So that should help us on game day get the penalties down, and that would increase our offense efficiency and production, hopefully. I kind of like that prediction, 2014. But look at all the other ones, man. 16-9, 12-9, 13-5. 13-5. Wow. A field goal and a safety for the Chargers. M. Grant with 19-17. 9-8. That's an ugly score. How do they get 8? So I guess that's a safety, a field goal, or maybe you're missing an extra point. I don't know how you're getting 8, but that's an ugly one. And Shook with 16-10. K. Patcher, 17-14 Steelers. And then the Chargers scores. The Chargers winning score predictions from GPG 17-14 and E. Edholm 19-17. So they like the Steelers here. They like to see it. They're giving us some respect now. You see that? Steeler fan 532 says it's a home game. Best 2 defenses in the league based off points scored. That is true. Chelson asked, Deke, were you happy with Corliss Waitman's performance last game? Do you think he's a long-time replacement until Cameron Johnson comes back? I thought he was solid. I don't think he did anything amazing. He was quality. Yeah, he was solid. So I think he bought himself some time. Long-time replacement. Yeah, for this season. Cameron Johnson's out for this season. So long time as in the rest of the season, I definitely think he could be our guy. Robert Bellin says, I hate the respect. We always play better under the radar. I know. I get you with that. It's almost like a jinx. I understand that feeling too. I get it. Yeah, you see all those people predicting the Steelers. You're like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that, bro? I want to play with a chip on our shoulder. Stop talking us up. I don't want to get hyped up too much. We got to come in with a underdog mentality. Uno Creation says they don't give us enough credit, though, in my opinion. I know. Yeah. I mean, typically, traditionally, yes, for sure. Because even with these 2 wins, you hear a lot of the national media pundits giving their caveats and saying, you know, they're winning ugly, but this ain't sustainable. It's cool for now. Justin Fields, he's fool's gold. But watch, man. Watch. This is a good test. Like I said, good test for both teams. Really good test. I'm pumped about it. So, all right. I think that's it. I got us winning. I'm going to go with Bucky Brooks. I like that. 2014. I think with the Chargers offense, with the line they have, with the J.K. Dobbins, with the Justin Herbert, they're going to get theirs at times, but I think ultimately our defense does do enough to get us out of the stadium, give the offense some chances, and Fields and the unit take advantage. Get some touchdowns on the board. We obviously got Boz. He kicked some field goals through, and we get out of there with a dub. First home dub of the season. But all right. Thanks, everyone, for stopping through. Here we go, Steelers. I will see you on Sunday for the post game. Stay chilling. Peace.